Is he interested in you or truly invested in the relationship? In this week's video, I'm going to share how to know the difference early on and just how to pick up on the signs. And I'm going to start with a story. Many years ago, I had a client, I'm going to call her Kara. She fell hard for a guy. He was from another country. I think he was a professor and, super smart, had sort of this exotic quality because he was from another country. And they connected really strongly, lot of chemistry on the phone and on their first date. And on their second date, she decided, against my instruction, to create an amazing, like, 6-course meal with the cuisine of his country. So she spent like the entire day cooking this incredible meal, and he slept over. I had talked to her about her own pattern of falling for men very quickly, of sleeping with them too early, and I cautioned her to not sleep with men until she was exclusive. But she just could not control her impulse and slept with him. Well, the next day, I start getting lots of emails from her. She's freaking out. He has not contacted her since he left, and she is like, "Oh my God, I think I did the wrong thing." So this happened. It was really heartbreaking for her, and I think it really cured her from, falling for a man who's interested versus somebody who's taken the time to invest in a relationship. All those early signs where a man can show you, he really likes you. And it's all true. Like, he probably does really like you. He's attracted to you, and he'll say things like, "Oh my God, I haven't felt this way in years, and you're the first woman that I'm interested in since my divorce," and lots of lovely words, right? So this can happen after a few dates or after a few years. Many of you have been in relationships with people that lasted a long time with somebody who was interested but not invested. So let's talk about the difference between the two and what signs you're going to look for so that you can prevent heartache in the future. So a man who's interested, he says all the right words, all the things I was saying before. He thinks you're amazing, you're beautiful, lots of words that kind of pull you in, sometimes freak you out, but mostly pull you in. He woos you with expensive dates sometimes, can take you to concerts and buy you gifts and do nice things for you. He tells you what you want to hear. So he might be a really good listener and really reflect on what you want to hear, but maybe he's not that interested in what you're really saying. And he is somebody who shows up when he's having fun, but when you are in crisis, he's not there. When there's a conflict, when there's crisis, this man cannot be counted on. So it's a lot of the external, "I want to have fun with you. I want to have sex with you. I'm really attracted to you." A man who's really invested shows up in a crisis. You have something going on, he's going to drop everything. I had a guy once who I was dating, and I it was like, I think we had it was pretty new into the relationship, and my front door lock broke and my garage door broke. So I couldn't leave the house to go get my stuff fixed. And I was newly divorced. I had just moved into this house a few years before, and I didn't have extra money to go hire a locksmith and get a whole new garage door and all that stuff. And so I called him and I said, "Can you help me?" He lived an hour away. He got right into his car, went to the hardware store, bought a new lock, installed it, and fixed my garage door. I mean, it was amazing. And so that was a man who was completely invested in this relationship. So he's there for you in the good times and the bad times. He's consistent. So consistency, when you notice inconsistencies, pay attention, because a man who's really invested in the relationship is going to show up consistently. He's also somebody who introduces you to friends and family. So many people are in relationships that can last a year or more, and you never meet his children, you never meet his friends, you never meet his family. That's not somebody who's really invested in the relationship. He's hiding you, he's hiding something, he's not fully committed. The other thing you're going to look for in someone who's invested is someone who escalates the relationship. Somebody who's really into you is going to go from, first text on an online site to maybe a video date during COVID to getting in person to locking it down to a relationship, taking you out more than once a week after so it's building and it's building, and he doesn't just neglect you once he has you. He continues to nurture the relationship. He's interested in working through conflict. Now, this one's huge, which shows that he values the relationship more than he values his ego. So let me know if you've ever dated somebody who could not work through conflict. I had that problem in my marriage. I wanted to work through stuff and he couldn't handle it. So he would walk away. He would say, I was the one with the problem. People who blame and shame are the ones who are not invested in really working through the relationship. Someone who's invested also remembers things that you say, remembers important dates, and remembers important things. So basically, he's showing up in many, many ways. And he's able to also let his guard down. So he gets vulnerable with you. It's not just, fun and games. He's somebody who's willing to let his guard down after he knows you well. And another sign is somebody who asks you for advice. Now, I dated somebody who was not invested, who would ask me for advice all the time. He was kind of, oh, she's a coach. I'm going to ask her for advice. So she's really smart. So it's not always a sign of investment, but somebody who starts to see the value in you and is invested in other ways, that's another sign. And the last sign that I'm going to share is somebody who sticks up for you. Somebody who is there to take a stand for you. And I remember recently hearing about a relationship where there was a woman who was getting harassed at work, and her boyfriend took a stand for her. He really took a stand for her dignity, even when she wasn't able to. So, another example in my marriage was my husband was very dedicated to his mother, and he did not stick up for me in front of his mom. That was a huge issue in our relationship. So you can tell early on if you start dating somebody and once this honeymoon wooing period is over, he's not really willing to put the energy and the time into the relationship. He doesn't really show up when you're in crisis. I had a guy once who told me he lost his phone when I was going through a hard time. It's just an excuse. So don't excuse the inexcusable. We have to see whether somebody's willing to invest in us and whether we're willing to invest in them. It works both ways. So the next time you're in a relationship, look for the signs, especially if you really like this guy. Look for the signs and don't be afraid to ask for what you want. See if he can show up more. Sometimes guys just don't know what we need because we think that if they loved us, if they really cared about us, they would know that we want a daily text or a phone call every day, or that we are really interested in being in a relationship. Sometimes we need to let them know, it's really nice dating you. I would like to only focus on you. I mean, I have said that to a man who really wanted to say it to me, but he didn't want to get rejected. So I told him first, and he totally was in. Let me know if you have been in a relationship where somebody showed interest and you confused it for investment, and whether you were able to really help the man understand what you need in a relationship to help that relationship grow.